Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mike and this is Keep On Fishing. Today I'm going to be doing something different. I'm actually not going to be fishing today. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while because I get a lot of questions on my videos about what kayak do I use, what do you look for when you're purchasing a kayak. I'm in the market for a used kayak. What do you suggest? So today's video is going to be based on the comparison between the Hobie Outback and the Old Town Sportsman. I'm lucky enough to have both kayaks, and I'm going into now my 4th season of fishing, and I can actually give you an honest opinion on which kayak I would prefer if I could only have one. The difference between the two in stability, speed, comfort, the drive, the price, reliability, and I'll also do a little bit on the setup of the cockpits and the portability of the kayak. So hopefully you guys stick around for the video, and if you have any questions as we go through this, please leave a comment below. I really appreciate it. All right, let's get to it. So I'm going now into my 3rd season with both these kayaks and really happy with both of them. The reason why I have 2 kayaks is because when I was in the market for one, I originally wanted the Hobie, but they were just out of my price range, brand new. So I went with the Old Town Sportsman, and I luckily found the Hobie on Facebook Marketplace. Wonderful lady out on the mainland that was selling it for a really good price, so I had a little money saved and I had to buy it. So now I have 2. And the nice thing is having both of them is that I can give you an honest opinion on what it's like to be in both of them. They both offer the same, they're both meant for ocean fishing, but they are very different, and they're in their own unique ways. And that's kind of what I'm going to get into here today in this video. Stability. Now, stability on these 2 kayaks in rough water, in big swells, high winds, and in rough water perform exactly the same. Now this is a 106, which is just over 10 feet. I think it's just under actually 11 feet. And the Hobie Outback is over 12 feet. So there's a difference in the length for sure, which does have some effect on the stability of the kayak in rough water, but not much. So they perform quite well. Both of them are very good in rough water. With the white caps going and the big swells, no problem, no issues. I've always felt comfortable in both of these kayaks. Where the difference is when it comes to stability is that you'll probably notice in the Old Town, it's a little bit deeper. I'll go up to the Hobie in a second here, but it's a bit of a deeper cockpit, okay? And it's a wider kayak, definitely wider. I don't have the specs, but it is a wider kayak. The longer length kayak for this Sportsman, I think it's 13 feet. I could be wrong, but it is about 13 feet, but it is just as wide. Now the Hobie here, you'll see, I'm just gonna come around. It's actually substantially shallower. The cockpit is substantially shallower. Now the big difference between the two when it comes to stability is that if you want to get up off your kayak and stand up because you want to like cast a line, definitely the Old Town is way more stable when standing in the kayak versus the Outback. I feel way more comfortable standing, or if I have to move around or do a 360, or if I have to turn around and grab something in the back of the kayak versus the Hobie. The Hobie is kind of like, I almost feel like I'm like on a paddleboard when it comes to standing up in it. I don't do it very often, but that being said, the Old Town does have an edge on the Hobie when it comes to stability when you are moving around in the cockpit of the kayak or if you're standing. Again, as far as the swells and rough conditions go, they both perform the same. Speed. The Hobie is definitely faster than the Sportsman. The reason why is, I'll just get underneath. At least this is what I think. The hull design on the Hobie, it's pretty consistent. There's not really much area other than the underneath that would cause some drag. And it's a double hull design, almost like a pontoon boat. The Sportsman has this area here, it's quite a big notch, and that's where the pedal drive comes in. It just drops in that little hole there. I think it creates a little bit more drag than the Hobie does. Also, the Hobie is a lot slimmer and narrower than the design of the Old Town. It is much faster. Is it important? When it comes to trolling for salmon, I think it is, because you can put less effort into pedaling around in the Hobie than you are in the Old Town. But, you know, I guess you just have to go a little bit faster and get a little bit more tired in the Old Town. But the Hobie is definitely faster. It definitely glides over the water quicker than the Old Town does. So if I'm going to give an edge to one of the two kayaks when it comes to speed, it's going to go to the Hobie. The third topic I want to discuss is comfort of the kayak. The seats, they look similar from afar, but they're actually quite different. The Old Town, it comes with a really nice, almost like a lawn chair, and it's got aluminum tube railings along the side here. You can adjust it. It's quite light and it moves. And the nice thing about this seat is that it actually goes forward and back. Now on the Hobie, that's not the case. With the Hobie, you can't slide the seat forward and back. It's basically fixed. The pedal drive is what you adjust in order to make it shorter or longer for the pilot. The seat is quite comfy, although in both kayaks I still have to use a gel pad to make it a little bit more comfortable, especially if you're trolling for hours at a time. Now you'll see that the difference between the Hobie seat to the bottom of the kayak, or to the deck of the kayak, again, I referenced it earlier, it's much more shallower than the Old Town. So as far as seating wise goes, I find that in the Old Town you're sitting up right a little bit more, and the drive that comes with the Old Town, it's more like an incumbent bike as opposed to the pedal drive that you get with the Hobie, which is basically a back and forth motion, almost like, I would say, like kind of like a seated Stairmaster. As far as the ergonomics goes and how I feel in terms of like more comfort, the Old Town pedal drive versus the Hobie pedal drive, the Old Town definitely has the edge. It's got a wider seat and it's more like I'm seated more upright, which feels better on the back as opposed to the Hobie, where you have to move the drive and you're almost like on a 45-degree angle sometimes. Also with the seat being able to move back and forth, if you're moving around or if you've got a big fish and you need to manipulate it or manipulate some of your equipment, way easier to just slide that thing back. You can't do that with a Hobie, so sometimes that drive kind of gets in the way when you're manipulating stuff. As far as comfort goes, I'm going to give the Old Town the edge. Before I give you the verdict, there is one more category that I will bring up, which is basically the configuration of the cockpit. Now, I'm pretty sure, because I've seen them, the 13-foot Old Town is very similar to the cockpit of the 106. It's a very basic cockpit. You know, you've got your little areas here where you can store stuff, and then there's a thing underneath the seat here, which is actually quite handy. It's quite large, where you can insert stuff in as well. Okay, but you'll see by this, it doesn't really have a whole lot of like wow to it. in comparison, when I go over to the Outback, has way more features than the Old Town. It's got this little compartment area here that lifts, storage. You can put ice in there, you can throw your lunch in there. That's normally what I do. It's got these nice beautiful railings, these little tabs. I've actually never used them, that you can secure pliers or whatever with, and it's got all these railings and these little things. You can throw your tackle box in there and secure it down with these elastics. It's got built-in rod holders in 4 of them. The other thing too about the Outback is that the steering mechanism is on both sides. It's ambidextrous compared to the Old Town, which is just on the one side, which actually is really nice. It helps when you're trolling and you're trying to fight the fish and you're moving all around. But it was really well thought of. From what I understand, who the designers of this were actually anglers, and it was designed with that in mind, making sure everything is accessible and that you can put stuff in and get to them when needed when you got that big fish on. So it's pretty nice. This is a little thing that opens to the cab, and the rear of the Kayak has the same thing. It's really cool. You can, all these elastics and all these little railings you can put in your stuff in. You can even cut into the Kayak if you want to add more storage or have a little door in there. Yeah, so the Old Town doesn't have a whole lot of wow to it. The rudder is mounted on top on the Old Town, as opposed to the Mirage, which the rudder is down here and you just drop it with a lever in the front. It also has the capacity to, you can put in your fish finder in this little area here that drops down. It's a feature that I haven't used. Well, I don't really use a fish finder. So another thing I'm going to talk about between the two kayaks is the portability of the Kayak, which is actually really important, because the last thing you want to be doing is to be moving your Kayak around and it being unstable and it toppling over on the beach and all your gear is scattered all over the place and you have to get it back right. And trust me, that's happened with the Old Town. It hasn't happened with the Hobie, and this is the reason why. With the Hobie, it comes with what they call a plug-and-play system, which I really, really wish the Old Town would do the same. It's such an awesome system. Basically what it is this is the wheels and the cart holder. You can also get a different set of wheels that are upgraded, more for like sandy conditions, bigger ones, bigger wheels. But this, basically, they call it the plug and play. It just basically goes into these little holes here. So they go underneath the Kayak into those holes, and you can pull your Kayak around, which is ingenious because it's super stable and it won't topple over because it's inserted in the Kayak. The other cool thing is that when you are using the Kayak, you just simply have to throw the wheels right there, and they're out of the way and they don't bother me. I can go anywhere, and if I have to like move the Kayak around, just slip it in and out of here, hence the description, plug and play. With the Old Town, unfortunately, that is my biggest pet peeve with Old Town, is that it doesn't have a plug and play system. It does have holes back here, but not for moving your Kayak around. So I went with a Wilderness Systems wheel system, and it just kind of sits, you can see it, just kind of sits underneath the Kayak nicely underneath the hull. But the problem with this is that it's definitely not as stable, and you have to strap the wheels down. I just strap it through the through the seat, or else it's going to slide around, especially when your kayak is wet and you pull it out of the water. If you don't strap that thing to the seat, your kayak will be sliding all over the place and you're going to lose stuff. And that's happened to me, and it is a pain. Also, when you're going over rough terrain, there's a higher chance of this thing coming off the railing and your kayak toppling over, and that doesn't happen with the Hobie because of that system. So definitely an upper hand on portability for the Hobie. When it comes to the drive, so the Old Town comes with the PDL drive. So you'll see that, again, you'll see that the drive is more like, it's very similar to what it would be like to ride a bike. And when you're seated, it'd be like riding an incumbent bike, and you can go for kilometers upon kilometers in that position. The drive is quite, I mean, it's a little bit, it's way heavier than the Mirage drive that the Hobie offers. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain when you need to get it in and out of your car, especially after you've been on the water all day. It does come with a little compartment here where you can store stuff in, which is really nice when you're seated, because if you needed to kind of get to your phone really quickly, or get to your fishing license because Department of Fishery and Oceans pulled up on you, it's right there, really easy to get. So this thing basically just drops right into that little insert I showed earlier, and it locks itself into place, and you're good to go. The thing about the pedal drive compared to the Mirage drive, which I'll show you here shortly, is that it is virtually maintenance free, which I really like. When you finish at the end of the day, you just rinse it off with some fresh water. Every once in a while, you can just grease it up a little bit in these little points of areas where it's required. Mine was squeaking for a while there. I seem to have rectified it just by putting some grease within the pedals. Super easy to maintain and very sturdy. Now, the Mirage drive, you'll see it's way different, much different design than the pedal drive. The way it operates is that when you're moving your feet go in here, and you're going to be pushing back and forth, like I said, like a seated stair climber. It's this movement here is what produces the thrust for the kayak to move forward. The nice thing about this particular drive, this is the turbo fin kick-up system, is that in shallow waters, if you as you're beaching and you forget to pull the drive out, it kicks up, okay, like that, so you don't wreck your blades, and which is quite nice. It also has the capacity, and the PDL, both drives do have the capacity to go forward and reverse. The only thing that I don't like about the Hobie Mirage drive compared to the Old Town pedal drive is that it is finicky. The chains can come loose. You do have to tighten it and maintain it every once in a while. Over time, I've had to just kind of tighten up the screws, because if they don't, they come loose, and the drive just doesn't perform as well as it should. The other thing too, which is my biggest gripe with Hobie and the drive, the Mirage drive, is that, I'll just get in here, is that these pins go into two brackets in the kayak, and these brackets have a tendency, for whatever reason, and I'm having a problem with it right now. These are the brackets here. And this isn't the first time it's happened. A friend of mine has the same kayak, and he's reporting the same thing. These brackets, over time, they start to break down, and you have to replace them. And what happens, like I'm having an issue right now, is that this bracket will not lock into place. This one does, this one does not. So I have to replace that, which is a cost. And then I've got to get a special tool to get in there and remove it. Because if you don't, then you don't have, it's not properly locked into place, and it just creates a real problem. I was out on the lake the other day, and I was basically pedaling on a little bit of an angle, and it was just a pain. So this is the second time now I've had to replace that, and again, it does cost money, and you gotta order it from there's only a couple places here in BC that have Hobie replacement parts. So it's, again, it's just annoying. But with the pedal drive here on the Old Town, like I said, it's kind of built heavy duty, and it is just a beast. And I just don't think that I'm really ever going to have any issues with this thing. And how it sits compared to, there's no pins, it just locks into here and locks into here, and that's it, just the two points. And if I did have to replace it, it looks like it'd be super easy to do too. You just unscrew and put those plastic pieces in there. So anyways, that's the drive. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and it answered some questions, especially if you're in the used market, whether or not you should go with Old Town or Hobie. Now, which one would I go with if I could only pick one? I'd be going with the Old Town Sportsman. And the reason why, the number one reason why, aside from all these things that we talked about here in the video, is that it's super cheap to operate and own, and it is built like a tank. I haven't had to replace anything on it. It does everything I need on the water. It's super stable. It's very comfortable. Don't get me wrong, I love my Hobie. It is an attractive kayak. Every time I bring it out, I always have people comment on how beautiful the kayak is. Absolutely. But if you just want to get out there and get her done and get yourself onto some salmon or some big lingcods, and you don't want to have to worry about the maintenance of the kayak, and you want a kayak that's reliable and that'll perform well, go with the Old Town. There's a lot of them up for sale right now in the used market, and now, like right now, is a great time to buy. So please, if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. If we do happen to monetize the channel, I'm not quite there yet, but if we do, all the proceeds I will be donating them to the Nanaimo Fish Hatchery, which really helps us in sustaining the sport, because we hook into a lot of hatchery salmon here out in the Georgia Strait. So thanks again, guys, and we'll see you soon for lingcod season, which is just around the corner.